We're back. This time we're here to talk about the worst film I have ever seen. We're going to be talking about a film by the name of Fantastic Four, the 2015 remake, reboot,
There is risk. There is sacrifice. And there are consequences. And there are consequences.
I have it here on Blu-ray because I have zero self-respect. Alright, so let's delve into the reasons why this is the worst film I've ever seen. Wow, Fantastic Flop has a whopping 9% on Rotten Tomatoes from the critics and 18% from the audience. I took some notes, and I thought I'd share those notes with you all. First grievance I have with this film. The film opens in this classroom. It shows a view of the whole room, and you look around that room and you see some kids look like they're 4 years old. Some look like they're 14. Some look like they're 27. And it would be a little helpful if they were, decent actors. And then it cuts to 7 years later or whatever and then it shows you a science fair or whatever, and you see Reed Richards. You meet Reed Richards when he's a little older, and you see his friend from when he was younger. You meet them at their little science fair, and they're supposed to be 17, 18 years old, but these teenagers are 35 years old. And when you're in that freaking science fair room, right, he literally takes a small toy plane, right, he puts it on a little teleporter machine, he presses a button, and he sends it to a different part of the planet, and potentially an alternate universe, and he brings it back. And guess what the teacher says? Guess. I want you to guess.
Wait a minute.
He says that there's no real science here. Now listen. If I go to a science fair where I'm expecting a bunch of freaking soda volcanoes, and I see somebody send an object to a different part of the world and potentially to an alternate universe, I don't give a shit how much science is involved in that. That's freaking magnificent. But, because the story has to happen, we have to get that Reed Richards is a dork, and nobody likes him, and he's like, whatever. It is a result of lazy writing. And then Reed Richards gets a visit from Sue, who, he apparently is attracted to in this film. Apparently, because their chemistry doesn't tell me that. They tell him, hey, we're going to give you a full scholarship and come to the Baxter Foundation, and we're going to freaking, give you all this money so you can help us make a multi-dimensional device that, can travel things between, like, freaking worlds and, like, universe. It is a result of lazy writing. And then we cut to a wonderful boardroom scene where Dr. Sue Storm, or whatever his fucking name is, he gets a bunch of government people in his room, and he's trying to convince all these people that, he has a new team of children that he's going to hire to make an interdimensional traveling device, and he's trying to convince them that this is a good idea. Then we meet freaking Victor Von Dickhead. He is, similar to me in some ways, where he hates the world, and he doesn't think that the world deserves anyone's help.
People running the earth are the same ones running it into the ground, so maybe it deserves what it's got coming to it.
Dr. Doom over here.
Let me tell you something about the score of this movie, like the music they use in this movie. It's the most generic superhero movie score I've ever heard in my fucking life. Sorry. Here's my biggest grievance with the film. The biggest one. Okay? Are you ready for this? I feel like I need to get close to you. To ask you again.
If you're ready.
This is the absolute worst aspect of the movie right here that I'm about to tell you now. I think when I saw it, I was sick to my stomach. I felt like I was butt chugging or something. It was the worst feeling of my life. And it quite possibly is what makes this film the worst film I have ever seen. Here's the aspect that I hated. I've teased you long enough. I've edged you long enough. We finally get into some interesting meat of the movie. They're in this government facility. They had just been given these freaking mutant abilities. We see some grotesque, awesome, like, freaking body horror inspired sequences. Listen, here's what really stinks about this fucking pile, alright? We get into the interesting part of the movie, and there's a cut. And it says, 1 year later. Now, you might be asking me,
Why is that so bad?
You know, you might be asking,
Why is that so bad?
Potentially, the most interesting part of the movie was freaking undercut by this stupid choice to move everything 1 year forward. Because that gap of time between where we ended and a year later where we picked it back up, that gap of time is what I wanted to see. I wanted to see these characters learn what the hell was going on with them. I wanted to see these characters struggle internally and obviously externally as well. I wanted to see what we didn't get to see. That was the most interesting part of the movie, and they freaking cut it. But imagine, I'm heated right now, right? Imagine at this point in the video, there's just a random cut that just says,
A few moments later.
And now we're back. And things have calmed down a little bit. So now you understand how it must have felt while watching this That was me watching the movie. I experienced so much secondhand embarrassment that I could not even look at the screen. Hold on! I couldn't. I truly couldn't. I just thought that like 95% of this freaking movie was devoted to all this scientific jargon mumbo jumbo bullshit that no one in the audience is gonna freaking resonate with. No one cares. No one cares about these you set it in a lab, you give the people lab coats, you have them at computers doing this, you get it. You get that.
He's overloading the system to create a runaway reaction. It's not gonna stop. It'll create a black hole that'll swallow the Earth.
Comic book films that have zero to say are always riddled with a fucking cliche.
That's the first verse to my new rap single called Fantastic Flop.
Like fresh dog shit. Like fresh dog shit.
It's a lot of just filler. Like, you feel like the whole first... How long is this movie? You feel like the first hour and 20 minutes of the film is just filler. Oh, the government wants to interfere with our research. Oh, the government wants to use our research for no good. Oh, the four of us want to do great things with this research, but there's one of us that wants to ruin it for everybody because they hate the world. So things go wrong and shit hits the fan. Do something, please! When you sit through an hour and 20 minutes of filler, the last freaking 15, 20 minutes, it's not going to hook you at all regardless of what's happening. It's truly a shame because this film has a great cast, a great director, an interesting premise, a phenomenal IP in the Fantastic Four, a clean slate of a universe. Like, what the how did this not do insanely well because the studio wanted to get in front of the freaking director and be like, hey, we're the ones paying for this movie, so we have to be able to make toys and freaking Burger King commercials, so we have to cut this and this and this, and we need you to change this and this and this, and we need to reshoot this and this and this, and we have to put Kate Mara in a fucking wig for a lot of her reshoots. I am ashamed to be a fan of film. Because sometimes there's a movie that comes around that gives you so little to look forward to in life. You just end up wanting to end it all. All of it. None of this is real. We're all just living an illusion. And that's okay. I will hold your hand through it all. And Dr. Doom as a freaking villain, man, he was so cool. Actually, he was freaking cool, and they did nothing with it.
If this world must die, so be it. We need to stop Victor! He's the sword!
I can't stand when villains are relegated to like, oh, the world will burn. The city will fall to its knees.
There is no Victor. There is only Doom.
Have you ever been let down in your life? Nothing matters. Nothing.
Your world is destroyed, and I'm all that's left. Then it will be enough.
So let's talk about this cast. Miles Teller plays Reed Richards. Miles Teller plays the same character in every movie, so I don't even want to get I'm upset! Kate Mara is Sue Storm. She has as much screen presence as a fucking block of wood.
Goodbye, Susan.
Now what are you gonna do?
Michael B. Jordan plays Johnny Storm, and he tries. That's all I can say. And then freaking what's that actor's name that plays the human centipede, or no, the human what's his name, the rock monster, the Thing, yeah, that he stinks.
This is what I do. This is what I do.
He's a big rock monster that cries sometimes. And listen, I'll give credit where credit is due, because the last Rock movie that I saw was fucking Malignant.
Dwayne Johnson here. I am inviting you to check out the Black Adam Experience on Roblox.
What's that freaking actor's name? Tobey Maguire.
See you, chump.
What the hell?
Toby Kebbell plays the villain Victor Von Doofenshmirtz or what. I think Dr. Doom as a character in this movie was freaking awesome, but you know, the performance was another freaking comic book movie cliche. Blue laser shoots into my ass. Blue laser shoots into the sky. The end of the world, destruction. The mountains are being ripped apart.
Downloading the system, try to run away direction. It's not gonna stop. It'll create a black hole that will swallow the earth.
Cars are flying all over the place, and they're getting sucked into this portal, and That wasn't a fart. That was my chair. I swear to God. And Dr. Doofenshmirtz is grabbing every living organism in the universe, and the Fantastic Four have to stop him because of studio interference. I just think the movie's ugly. The movie looks like it's shot through, freaking motorcycle glasses or something. It just looks blue and gray and white, like a freaking modernized, gentrified apartment. It looks like a freaking, like, New York City apartment that's all modern, and if you walk into the kitchen, you're afraid of spilling something. I don't want to talk about this anymore. I think a lot of movies are bad, but this one is the worst film I have ever seen, and that's not hyperbolic. I'm telling you, this time I'm being straight up with you.
Straight up, man.
Anyway, you know what? I'm done with my sympathy. Let's look for a cinematic equivalent. Fantastic Four, Four Stick, or whatever the fuck you losers want to call it, is the cinematic equivalent to putting alcohol on a wound that is almost pretty much fully healed. It stings a little bit. It might sting a lot. And after it stings, you forget about it. You go on about your day. But you know for a fact that you don't want to pour any more fucking alcohol on that wound because it's going to sting again. And it's going to suck. Those are my thoughts on Four Stick, on Fantastic Flop, Rise of the Marine Biologist. This is the worst film I've ever seen. I just want to apologize to God for selling out and making a video on a comic book film.